Hello, 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 beautiful, powerful, exquisite, extraordinary, wonderful, everyday women of the world. Welcome to the Startup Stories podcast, where the ambitious everyday woman is heard, held, and served in life and business. I'm your host, Mia Frankel of Powerful Inc., the everyday woman's coach for living a peaceful and productive life. In this podcast, you'll hear stories to keep you sane, grounded, and growing as you expand yourself and deliver your purpose to the world. And you guys, today I welcome the amazing, the powerful, and powerhouse Nancy Garfinkel, who is a keynote speaker, a leadership and execution strategist, and the founder of The Right Path Consulting. I reached out to Nancy after having crossed my wires, and we ended up messaging, and she's like, yeah, of course I'll come on your podcast. And now I'm so thrilled because we've been talking for about half an hour before getting down to business, and there's so much alignment. But Nancy is like just such a great example of cultivating intuition and creating a spirit of self-respect for herself, right? So leading herself based on a strong value system on how she's treated in the workplace and the type of work that she's very committed to doing. So she's very passionate about her skills and her knowledge and her 36 years in healthcare, and now rolling that into supporting the ambitious everyday woman with time management and especially, and this is really big in my world too, Nancy, action. So we were talking about the difference between goals and a to-do list, and we were talking about the difference in um, having busy time and having result creating time, right? So Nancy spent decades, 3+ decades, almost four, in healthcare leadership, where she built a reputation for empowering teams, not micromanaging. And she was telling me that whenever a job kind of started to get crunchy, she knew it was time to leave. And this was her big moment of leaving corporate to go into entrepreneurship. And she had been observing because she's like a logistics and operation and leadership builder. And so she had started noticing different patterns in the workplace and in women and in like teachers, healthcare, real estate investing, which was one of her initials, of how it's easy to not see the forest for the trees and not find the time that actually brings the results that we want, right? So we're just kind of like eating candy instead of eating nutrition and filling up the time. And so this led her down a path of um, organizing her skills and expertise and exploring other methodologies to create something called execution wins as a no nonsense system to turn ambition into results through small, repeatable actions. So, we're going to talk about this in this episode. We're going to talk about Nancy and her journey to become this woman and what leading herself was like, so that you can achieve your not even goals, like your mission for your life, and do it without it feeling like you're doing more. Fair? Sound good? Yeah, beautiful. So, Nancy, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
And we're gonna have such a good time, you guys. We were chatting up a storm before, and Nancy's gonna be a keeper. So I'm excited to have you in my world.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So why don't we just start then with that pivot point of the seed starting to grow of when you left corporate to looking at starting a coaching business?
So I started out after leaving corporate in real estate investing.
Mhm.
And as I would listen to all the coaching calls and everybody on it, I noticed a common theme that a lot of women, we were told to time block, and a lot of women would say time blocking doesn't work. And I thought, then they don't understand it because they'll saying there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to time block, and you just have to figure out what works best for you. Um, and so that's part of what I help people do is figure out how to do that. People also didn't seem to understand, a to-do list is very different from achieving your goals.
Mhm.
Okay. And so the way I teach people to prioritize and to set goals and prioritize them and map out what I call a 12-week game plan is very different than a to-do list. The things that you need to do to achieve your goals shouldn't be on your to-do list. A to-do list is walk the dog, go to the grocery store, have a dentist appointment. It is not, I want to increase sales by 10%,
Right.
and this is what I need to do. And so it goes on your to-do list. No, in my system, those get calendarized. In other words, so you're setting your goals, you're saying what your tactics are, and you're calendarizing them in blocks, whatever works for you. And again, I go into that much more in my course. And it just separates the two. It makes it
Mhm.
very simple. And
Mhm.
because I work in 12-week game plans, you are constantly achieving a goal.
Right.
And a
It's a
block,
lot of touch
a
point,
lot of
like
women,
very tangible, right? And it starts to
yeah, well,
redefine
you're,
your
well, when you
development.
compress, exactly.
Yeah.
When you compress time, right, you can't work on 20 goals at once. You
Mhm.
just physically can't, you mentally can't. I don't
Right.
think you physically can, but you mentally can't. I don't think anyone has the bandwidth, right? And so you prioritize what are your goals for that 12-week game plan. It's not a quarter, it's 84 days. Okay. And the reason for that is it's not calendar based. You can start your 12-week game plan any time of the year, right?
Mhm.
And the beauty of it is then when you wrap it up, you take that week in between and you are celebrating your wins, you're reassessing what worked and what didn't, and you're planning for the next one. In the corporate world, I knew people who every quarter, every 12 weeks, literally took a vacation. And it's that reset, right? You get re energized. But it's important to do it that way because it's great. I've been doing some posts on Facebook that say, are you copy and pasting 2025 into 2026? Like, are your
Right.
goals the same, right?
Right.
Do you still want to lose the same 20 pounds or do you
Right.
still want to do, X, Y, and Z? Mine's always get to the gym, okay? Because I
Mhm.
just have no motivation for that.
Been there. I relate.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Like
talk a
years in
lot
the
about how
making.
motivation is not the key. It's what
That's
gets
right.
you started, but it's not what gets you across the finish line.
That's right.
So, you know, um, but so when you do it that way, you between figuring out the 12 weeks, what your goal is, and especially if you are a woman who works, has family, is taking care of parents,
Mhm.
is responsible for the household, you're working on your marriage. I was a single mom, so I
Mhm.
just, um, you need to have those 2 or 3 clear goals because if you're going to a 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever it is, working 3 12s, you need to know what else it is you're working on.
Yeah.
And you need to figure out when can you do that.
Yeah.
And it's not, you can block time in any quantity of time. It's what works for you. How long can you sit in a chair? Or how long do certain tactics take, right? Because you have
Mhm.
your goal, and then you have your tactics, and that's what you're going to measure to see how you execute. And people get the two um confused
Yeah.
sometimes,
They
right?
cross wires. Yeah.
They
So
do, they do.
let's try an example. Like in my journey, you guys, I would really do busy work, and that would be here's an analogy, like I'd clean the floors with a toothbrush. So I was cleaning the floors, but at a micro level that
Right.
would take a really long time. And yeah, I would get a clean floor, but it took so much space. So now in my business, like I use the mornings before work between 5:30 to 7 a.m.
Hmm.
And I've had to train myself over years. And then Nancy, you can play back to me if I'm doing an efficient job
Yeah.
of working. Now it's like getting a podcast episode published or recording one. And I've streamlined this system that I can turn this episode around in like 15 minutes. right? Like when we're done, record, post, episode description, launch. Like it's become very efficient. So now the podcast takes up so little time in my life, and it is really great and impactful. Other things I've done is instead of like logging in for that business time and going through emails and deciding on branding and like messing around in Canva, I jump straight to I have to work on my Everyday Woman immersion program. So I'm going to work on those slides and I'm going to prepare that content, or I'm going to prepare the funnel that the client gets from purchase to receiving to getting into the course, rather than all the other bullshit that goes around
Well,
it.
that's true, and that is the right, approach, and so email is the biggest time sucker.
Oh yeah.
Okay. The absolute wrong thing to do is to open your email first. And it is what we tend to do,
Yeah.
even in the corporate world.
Yep.
You open your email first instead of tackling what you do. And email tends to, I've always had 2 to 3 screens. So email always stays open,
Mhm.
because in the corporate world, there's that expectation that you're going to answer immediately, right?
Mhm.
And that's all we do. But yeah, you have to take time. You don't make time, you
Yeah.
take time. It has to be very intentional. And everything you do when you have so much on your plate has to be with great intention. And, one thing I say is this the 333 method, right? This, three things before noon. What are the three most important things you need to do before noon? And I have a boot camp coming up next week, a 5-day Finish Strong boot camp
Yeah.
that goes over this. It's 5 days, it's 1 hour a day, and it's 5 days of actual tactics to get that last goal done. Like,
Hmm.
what goal have you been putting off, and how can we put it into action
Hmm.
and set you up for the new year? And it's 5 days and 1 hour a day. And so, you have to pick and choose from the different techniques, right? And so, what you've done is there's a book called Eat That Frog, right? You've
Yeah.
gone for the most, what's something, sometimes we do busy work
Yeah.
to put off what we don't want to do, right?
Or afraid, right? Like I was a systems girl, and it was always easy to do the admin in the back end.
Absolutely.
And then I translated that into my own business, and I was like, oh, wait a second. This is what I will hire in the future. It's not
Well, right.
the
And
getting
then,
it out there.
correct. And,
And I got to stay off stage. I would put somebody else on stage and I would be,
mhm.
but I had to put myself on stage and really um, do the work that will bring back the need for the back end, right?
And the other thing I will say is that you have to think of ways to delegate. And
Mhm.
delegate doesn't necessarily mean hiring out, right? You have to take care of your household. The easiest thing, or this is my thing, right? You have to cook dinner every day.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you're cooking for one, that is the most horrible. I've never been good at cooking dinner, but you don't want to order out every day. And you're certainly not going to go out to dinner every day. Well, what does delegating mean in that?
Yeah.
And the smallest thing that you can do, in my opinion, to delegate some of that is take a little help from the store. And what
Hmm.
do I mean by that? Buy your vegetables pre-chopped. They make onions pre-chopped. You do
Right.
not need to sit there and chop your onions.
Yeah.
You can buy,
Yeah.
there are just, you can buy pre-marinated meat. You don't have to
Yeah.
sit there and stir up marinade.
Yeah.
Um, there are lots of little things that you can do that will save you 10 minutes here,
Hmm.
10 minutes there.
Hmm.
And if you save up all those 10 minutes, and the other thing is make your kids clear the table and load the dishwasher. I mean, they need to learn responsibility anyway. I used to have to do that. I can't say I did that with my own daughter, but
You're like
but delegate
reorganizing life.
honestly,
Like,
delegating and taking a little help from the store,
yeah.
or delegating on a Saturday morning and saying, I had a friend who used to do this. We're going to clean.
Hmm.
And her son was expected to vacuum every Saturday morning while she was cleaning other things.
Yeah.
And together they got it done. And by 10 o'clock in the morning, they were finished
Yeah.
and everybody could do what they wanted.
That's it.
And so you have to think a little creatively sometimes, have a family meeting and say, how can we do this? Everybody, I mean, if you're a mom who works and all those other things, your family clearly is on board or hopefully is on board with you starting this entrepreneurial journey. And so everyone should work together.
Mhm.
Right, to make that happen. It's a little different for me because I'm single and my dog doesn't seem to understand this. Um, it's like, Chloe, I can't get up and give you another treat right now. So what do? I go work in a coffee shop sometime
Uh,
because the dog doesn't know, when I'm
yeah.
not home, the dog can't complain.
Yeah.
And so I have a portable second screen
Mhm.
because I
Um,
like working with a second screen.
yeah.
Um, and so you have one of my favorite sayings in business was improvise, adapt, and overcome. Okay. My
Okay.
staff, my staff at NYU knew that when something went wrong, I would just say improvise, adapt, and overcome. And they would say it to me, right?
Mhm.
We had 10 medical assistants, 8 called out sick, improvise, adapt, and overcome. Right? There was a day all our surgical schedulers were out.
Like a
What did we do?
solution to every problem.
There
Yeah.
is. And you know what? Everything is figure outable. And
Yeah.
I've been saying that long before there were books. I used to, as a single mother, I would say
Um,
that to my daughter
mm,
from the time I became a single mom. Everything we'll figure it out, we'll make it work. These were my mottos, and I still believe that when something doesn't work, you pivot,
so let's
right? You have
use that as how you applied it from when corporate no longer worked and that job became too much
ah,
bullshit to take.
it
And you were
was.
like, I'm out. And now you're having to figure out, you're having to adapt and figure out your next step and not go back to corporate. Probably would have been very easy for you to find another job with your portfolio, but you chose to build a business instead.
I did. I did. I decided that I was tired of being micromanaged because I am not a micromanager and I was criticized for that a lot.
Mm,
I always believed that you trusted people until you showed that they showed you that you couldn't trust them. And so in healthcare, at least, that's not the way most minds work.
yeah.
And so, like I said, I started out in real estate investing. I got no joy out of tenants and toilets. I like having my
Great
money work
tagline.
for me, but I don't. I only like the thrill of the chase, okay?
Yeah.
The thrill of chasing the next property and getting the funding. And once that was done, the projects didn't really interest me. And as I said, this theme kept coming up about I can't time block, I can't get things done. You can't write a business plan for real estate investing. I was like, you absolutely can. You can
Mhm.
write a business plan for anything. And so, as I looked at things and took everything that I knew from my career, the time management
Yeah.
things that wise bosses had taught me in the past, I realized two things. One, a lot of women who are who have careers, right? You're a teacher, you're a hairdresser, people who are very scheduled potentially, or moms who are used to just 20 different things hitting them at once, right? They didn't have this concept of hitting a goal, of how to do it, right? Because in a lot of professions, things are very defined for you. If you're a stay-at-home mom, you you may not understand how to execute a goal. And a goal is great. They say an idea is a dream until it's written down, then it becomes a goal.
Mhm.
Well, a goal is great, but if you don't do anything, if you don't act on it,
Mhm.
you'll never get anywhere. So I had a mentor once who one day said to me, execution wins. And that
Mhm.
is how my program got named. Okay, this has stayed with me. My daughter was 3 years old when she said this to me. My daughter is 32. And I even messaged her recently on LinkedIn to say, I will never forget because I go down the rabbit hole a lot, right? I have
Mhm.
a little bit of ADHD, we think, right? And I love research,
Mhm.
but you can't keep researching
Mhm.
things. There is a
Been
time
there.
to execute, right?
Yeah.
You get your knowledge, and there's a time you say it's enough, and you
Well,
have to put it to
imagine
action.
watching fitness videos for a year and now you've researched
Right.
them, but you're like,
Okay.
where's my muscle? You
So,
never moved your body.
right. I mean, I used to collect fitness equipment.
Yeah, of
Every
course.
January, I would buy whatever someone like Forbes Riley or whoever on QVC was selling,
Yeah,
and I would buy it. And my
yeah.
daughter was much younger. She'd be like, "Why do you have that?" I'm like, "Oh, I think that by osmosis, it's going to happen." But yeah, that's really what it is. And so you have to say, these are my goals. These are the tactics to get to them. They are measurable because I'm going to check in on them and I'm going to make them time limited, right? And that's why I work in 12-week game plans because we
So
collapse time.
how did you set that up for yourself with the switch from corporate to so the real estate and then to the coaching?
Okay, so in real estate, I first realized it. I had a business partner and I had read the book, The 12-Week Year, and
Hmm.
it really was kind of life changing.
Yeah.
But every book on time management is rigid because they tell you their system.
Right.
And so I decided that we needed to combine a bunch of systems because no one is a cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Okay. And so my approach is not a cookie cutter. But this concept, in business, there were quarterly goals. Why say 12 weeks? Because it's 84 days, and that is enough time to get things done. And then you have time to celebrate, reset, and plan.
Hmm.
Okay. So at the beginning, you say, I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay. Let's take a personal goal because I always work on 2 to 3 business goals and one personal goal usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Because
it's
you're
almost
human
always,
first. You're
that's
always
right. And it's
you, the
almost always the
woman.
same personal goal. Okay. It's
Yeah.
always losing weight. And so you take that losing weight and what does it take to lose weight? Right. And so I do what's called a mind map. And so in the middle is my and I do this in my course,
Yeah.
my big course. You put the goal and then you put all the tactics that you could use and you don't pursue every tactic because you'd be overwhelmed there
Yeah.
too. You pick the few that are going to move the needle the most because that's what you're looking at,
Yeah.
right? And they should be measurable, right? How many times a week did you go to the gym? Are you counting calories, macros, points, whatever it is?
Hmm.
Um, you know, and let's just use those two. And so you're going to do them. And if exercise is really important, you're going to calendarize exercise. It no longer becomes on your to-do list. It's an appointment with yourself.
Hmm.
Okay. Meal prep becomes an appointment with yourself. And that doesn't mean cooking your food all at once.
Yeah.
I would never do that because, again, I live alone. I prep vegetables on Sunday mornings, right? I mix up marinades that I think I'm going to want to use for the week,
Hmm.
and things like that. I make sure I go grocery shopping, all those things so that I'm
Hmm.
prepared for the week. And then it's done. It's mindless. It's just go get everything out
Yeah.
of the fridge and put it together. I've saved time on prepping.
Yeah.
I've saved time on cleanup. I like making a mess once, okay, and
Right.
cleaning up because otherwise I got to clean the kitchen all the time. And
More
that gets
time.
really old when you're making 3 meals a day at home.
Yeah.
Um, and so those are measurable. And at the end of the week, you can say, did I make my meals? Did I hit my calorie goals? And things like that. When I do it for my business, when I do my social media posts,
Mhm.
I sit for an hour or so. I generate my ideas and then I say, okay, now I'm going to go to Canva. And I post a lot of I post long form, but that usually comes from the heart. That's from the heart, and
Yeah.
so that's more that tends to be more spontaneous for me.
Yeah.
And I write them and I put them someplace, and then I post them all at once. But then I go schedule everything,
Hmm.
right? I schedule it because then it's done.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't go on my to-do list. That's a block of time on my calendar every week that I have an appointment with myself, create content, um, and
And then
post
when you show
and
up
schedule.
for it, you're very focused.
Right.
And so what
Well,
the behind or the parallel to this, you guys, is reducing the decision making when that window of time comes up. Because this is really big. My brain is full. Like after today, I'm doing another podcast. Then I got to get stuff for the Girl Guide sleepover, and a birthday party, and so I'm like, okay, I need to calm down and just time block when I'm going to do what, execute, boom, next, boom,
Well, the
next.
reason this
And then
also
I don't
works
have
is,
to sit in the decision of,
well,
I have 4 hours of time. Where do I even begin? I've already organized and automated that.
but then you've also eliminated things that lead to decision fatigue
Yes,
so that your brain can concentrate on the decisions for your business,
yes,
not on for what am I going to do. And
yes.
I actually created this little AI assistant
Hmm.
called Decision Debbie.
Oh,
And
she's great.
I just updated her for the holiday season. I update her once a quarter with new instructions and whatnot. And your listeners can download a free 7-day trial. You asked me for the link.
Yeah.
And Decision Debbie helps you with just that decisions. You're overwhelmed. You when you get into her, she has a few prompts that she'll ask you. You can ask her anything you want, really. And based on the things I've taught her about how I believe in making, scheduling decisions and whatnot, she gives you feedback on how to
Hmm.
do things. I have one that I've trained further for like my CEO brain.
Hmm.
But when I have a migraine, I go in usually and say to her, I have a migraine. I cannot think. I can barely look at the computer screen. This is what was on today's calendar. This is today's to-do list. Help me regroup so I don't waste the day.
Right,
And she spits out a plan. And
right.
sometimes I agree with it. I mean, I usually agree with it. She saves the day because I'm not stuck on that spin. Or another example was the other day I hired a VA. I
Yeah.
took the plunge. And it turns out my VA didn't know as much as I did about the system I use. And that was bad. That was very bad. And I was like a hot mess. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
everything for the next 3 weeks is a disaster
Right.
because my VA didn't do it. She didn't. I don't have the skills to do it. And I went on, and if you talk to your AI enough, it gets to know you. And so she spit things out. She like calmed me down,
Hmm.
and I regrouped
Yeah.
and I kept going.
Yeah.
And so, that's the thing. Don't the reason to time block and the reason to separate the to-do list and things that are going to move your goals forward is so that you don't get stuck in decision fatigue because it's real. And this time of year, it
Hmm.
is so real. And that's why I created Decision Debbie. That's why I created my 5-day boot camp that's,
Hmm.
December 3rd through 10th. That's why I have execution wins, for someone who really wants to go through the whole plan with me
Hmm.
and learn the nitty gritty, all the different ways that I learned to execute and learn to do things. From setting a goal to defining it to measuring it to actually executing on it
Yeah.
and
Achieving it.
tweaking it if something doesn't work, because that's the beauty of the system, right? At the end of the week, we're always assessing, and then we're always coming back and being very accountable to ourselves.
Hmm.
Okay. In the corporate world, accountability tends to mean blame and finger pointing,
Hmm.
but what I teach is what I like to call radical self accountability,
Yeah.
right? You are really accountable to yourself. When I was at Weight Watchers, we used to say you're accountable to your points, right? Because if you could pretend you were dieting or eating well, but if your points didn't reflect that, you probably the scale wasn't moving. And it's the
Hmm.
same way. If you're not accountable to the tasks and the actions you tell yourself you're going to do, you're never going to move the needle. So if you don't keep commitments to yourself, you're not going to get where you want to go. You keep commitments to your child, to your boss, to your friends, to your spouse, whatever. But do you keep commitments to yourself? And
Well,
that
and
is a
that's where
shift.
your confidence grows because you know that
Exactly.
you will execute on what you said.
That's right.
And it's self-honoring because it's something that you want. And when you do it, it's I don't like it's fulfilling, right? It's
Yes.
fulfilling and it's proof that you matter and that these things matter. And you
Well, you
got to
learn to
just,
count on yourself. You
yeah,
know that
you can,
you can
yeah,
count on you.
yeah, exactly.
Because as
Perfect.
women, let's face it, we put ourselves last,
Yeah,
right? Everyone comes
yeah,
before us, even the dog.
Yeah.
And because my dog definitely comes before me. But when you keep a commitment to yourself, whether it's in business or carving out that time for self-care,
Hmm.
self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary to replenish.
Hmm.
Um, you learn that you can count on yourself. And so you build confidence and you see that the systems and tools that you're implementing work, and you build your confidence and you know you can get there. And especially for the woman who potentially wants to leave her full-time job,
Hmm.
building these things and growing your business in small pieces. I know a lot of real estate investors that, work before work, as you do. If they get a lunch hour, depending upon the type of work they do,
Hmm.
that's when they make their broker calls.
Hmm.
And, then potentially in the evening is when they carve out the time either for their coaching calls or, talking to a business partner or whatever it is. And, of course, it's hard when you have kids and a family because your time is more limited. Let's face it, you can't work 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
You can't. You will burn out so fast that you won't get anything done. But you can figure out what's going to work for you and how many hours a day you're going to put into that new venture so
That's
that it
this
can
is yeah.
build to the point.
It's like sustainable, and
Yes,
it starts, you guys, in like small steps, one thing a
yes.
day. So then you're not necessarily um, adding more to the already full life. You're adjusting and
Hmm.
replacing certain things. Like, classic example, instead of sitting down to watch a show at the end of the day, maybe you come in and just do another 30
Exactly.
minutes on the computer to move the marker. And then what I found, and Nancy too, is this starts to become more of who you are. And this is how we grow our capacity. And it just,
Hmm.
things start to replace themselves in your day to day. And you literally change where you're spending your time and shift it into a very more focused, results driven place. And then results start to show up.
Right. If you just led your normal life for 2 weeks, whatever it is you're doing, you do, but you tracked what you do, you'd find the little blocks of time where you are either busy but not productive,
Mhm.
or where you're just, and I'm not saying you don't need time to like chill and, decompress.
Yeah.
Because at 9 o'clock every night, close my computer. I am done regardless, because it's just time, right? Um, but you'll find where you are wasting your time. Are you watching 3 hours of TV a night? Are
Mhm.
you mindlessly scrolling? Are
Mhm.
you, are you playing too many games on your phone? And
Or
things
you
like
or
that.
you mix that into the fold where you allocate, like for me,
Absolutely.
kind of the 9:30 p.m. is sort of my free time to wind down until sleep,
I do watch TV. I
right?
watch about an hour of TV a night, and
Yeah.
I rarely get into. There are two times I watch TV. I watch TV 1 hour a night usually, and it maybe a little more. And then when I meal prep on Sundays, you're gonna laugh, but I still watch a soap opera
Yeah, great.
because I've been watching it since I was 14,
Oh my God.
and I watch them all on Sundays in that block where I meal prep and clean up. And it just goes through all five. There's less commercials. It takes less time. And I still get my guilty pleasure.
Well, this is the thing because it's not about deprivation. So one of my taglines is structure without constriction.
Oh, I
And
like that.
like, yeah, like that's the underlying theme here. And you guys, in my own life, what I've noticed is I kind of have more time freedom with more time blocking, right? So it feeds
Yes.
itself, and it just keeps me organized, again, removes that decision fatigue. And I am I'm more, doing less but achieving more because it's so focused. So now, Nancy, tell us like how you've noticed yourself change as a woman from working in corporate to, where there's a imposed structure and time to now holding yourself as a leader in your business and what you've learned about yourself as a woman and your flow day to day.
Yeah. So what I have noticed, honestly, is that when you embark on full-time entrepreneurship, you start to learn a lot about yourself, right? You do a lot more self-learning. And I don't just mean learning how to invest or anything. Like I am so much more self-aware of how I do things and just internally. But I will say that I know my productive times. I know when I hit a wall. I hit a wall every day between 2 and 3 o'clock, and I have to take a break.
Mhm,
Um, and either that's when I do my busy stuff, or I really do take a break.
mhm.
Um, and so you learn a lot about your inner self. More and more has become clear to me why I change jobs every 5 years.
Right.
But you're right. You get more done because when you're intentional about when you how you use your time, um, you're not your brain's not thinking, oh, I have to do this next. Oh, I have to do this next.
Mhm.
It's your flow is better because you have a somewhat structured day. And I'm not saying, people used to show me in corporate, look, I time block and it was all 8 hours of the day. And I'm like, that's not time blocking. That's going to too many meetings. Or even women will say to me, my whole day is time blocked. And I'm like, that's not time blocking either. Because you should plan 60% of your calendar,
Yeah.
okay? Because you need time to react to things. You need time to do the things on the to-do list.
Yeah.
Um, since I've left the corporate world, I've lost 75 pounds. I
Wow.
mean, I have a lot more to go, but
That,
I lost
no, wait,
75
let's
pounds in a
just
little over a
celebrate
year.
that for a minute. Like, that is
Yeah,
amazing.
it's huge.
Amazing.
It's huge. And I mean, like I said, I still feel like I have a long way to go. I'm still fluffy. I still wear plus size, but it's so much easier
Yeah.
to buy clothes.
Yeah.
I just went to an event where I needed a whole bunch of fancy stuff, and I probably ordered 30 or 40 outfits from Amazon. And because I didn't know what size I wore,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything. And I had so much fun. I had one night was formal, and I had to buy I never bought a sequin evening gown, but the theme was sequins and sparkles, and I literally bought a navy blue sequins evening gown,
Yeah.
and I felt so elegant and confident in it that it was wonderful. So I think as you go along your journey in entrepreneurship and take baby steps, right? When you see people who say they had $100,000 launch, I don't always believe that, number one. Some people do. I did not. I am the no BS coach, so I will never sugarcoat it for
Well,
you. I will
there's
always tell you the
usually
truth.
like unspoken math behind those types of sensational
Right,
messages.
right, right. Or, I just saw somebody who I was very surprised is doing paid ads.
Hmm.
Very surprised. Um, and that's a great thing if you can afford it.
Yeah.
But I think getting back to the question, I think as you go through your journey and you do take the step to leave, there's uncertainty because there's a steady paycheck is a really nice thing,
Hmm.
right? When you're an entrepreneur, it's up and down, so you
Hmm.
gotta manage a little differently.
Hmm.
Um, but I find that I am lighter and brighter. People tell me that.
Yeah.
I have a glow. I recently saw a friend and her mom. I've been friends with her since I'm 4 years old. I'm in my 60s. I've been friends with her for almost 60 years.
Big time.
And, it was so great because her mother was like, you look wonderful. I'm so
Mm.
proud of what you're doing, that
Mm.
you just reinvented yourself. And, there's a lot of people don't have the nerve to do that, uh, or the confidence. And I will tell you that the one thing my father-in-law, when he was alive, used to say, I'd rather make $1 working for myself than $2 working for someone else. And I
Mhm.
never agreed with that.
Mhm.
because I liked those golden handcuffs for the longest time. I got frustrated every few years, but I liked it
Yeah.
because I liked the paycheck, I liked the benefits, I liked the security.
Yeah.
And I guess I just got to a point in my life where I said, you know what? I do like those things, but I'm too old for the crap that goes on in the workforce, the politics, and
Mhm.
and whatnot. I was never very good at the politics at work. Um, and so this way, if someone doesn't like my style, they don't have to work with me. And if I don't like someone's style, I
Mhm.
don't have to work with them. And so it's very empowering when you get to choose who you work with, what you do. If something in my business isn't working, I get to change it. No
Yeah.
one can tell me not to,
Yeah.
right? People can suggest. I mean, they do. People can guide me to doing
Yeah.
other things. I mean, honestly, that's how I got to um, the Ignite summit
Yeah.
that's coming up in January. Someone suggested to me, you want to get your message out there, like,
Mhm.
let's do it. You have,
Mhm.
because, you know, this person has a vision, I think, bigger than I have for myself,
Yeah. Yes.
which is encouraging because in the corporate world, very few people have a vision for you,
Yeah.
right? Somebody may take an interest in your career, but when someone who you're working with says, you don't see it, but we see you doing so much more.
Mhm.
And so I created this series of summits called Ignite 2026 because it's going to be my year. It is truly going to be my year, and it's going to be all of our years,
Yeah.
right?
I'm feeling it too. Like it's so
It is. I'm
intuitive
feeling
that
it
there's
more
a,
than ever. I'm
yeah.
feeling it more than ever, I have to say. And so my goal is, like I said, I've seen so many women, their goals are the same year after year. They're stuck. They're this. Their health
Mhm.
is the same. They want more. And so the first one is called Ignite 2026 Reset and Thrive. And it's on health, wealth, and personal growth. And it will have about 10 speakers plus my keynote speaker, who is amazing. Um, but I'm not ready to announce that yet.
Yeah.
Follow Facebook and Instagram for
Yeah.
that. And, I have a functional medicine doctor coming on to talk about, getting healthy and whatnot. I have someone talking about overcoming trauma. Um, I have someone talking about finances, all these different things. I have
Pillars
someone
of having
who's
a whole life, right?
right. It's a holistic approach, right?
Yeah.
And so it's 2 days, a couple of hours each day.
Mhm.
Um, the recordings are available for a short period of time. I'll be talking more than once
Yeah.
about things that you hear, themes you hear here,
Yeah.
and then going forward into the year, they instead of just being, you know, for everyone, there will be things. The next one is going to be Ignite for the businesswoman,
Yeah.
right? And for me, it's for the new businesswoman, the entrepreneur who wants the woman who wants to get out of corporate, right?
Yeah.
The woman who wants to really grow a business, not the woman who's trying to hit $2 million.
Yeah.
Okay. There are lots of other coaches for that.
That's
I
right.
want to help the woman who's where I have been,
Yeah.
right? Who can't get started, who can't
Yeah.
get traction. That is who I am really passionate about. And that movement, a movement of women. I mean, AI is here, and
Mhm.
I just read all the layoffs that are planned for the coming year because of AI, and it is
Mhm.
scary.
Yeah.
It is very scary. So, unless you are a teacher, a healthcare worker,
Mhm.
um, a tradesperson, there are an awful lot of jobs that are in jeopardy because of AI. And so
Mhm.
if you are thinking you want a business, then you should start pursuing it. And
Right.
also, in this day and age, everything's so expensive. I feel bad for people with little kids. I don't know how they do it, even with
Yeah.
two incomes. And if you're a
Yeah.
single mom, oh my God,
Yeah.
I had a lot of help when I was a single mom, right? I lived with my parents and
Mhm.
my mother. I had no childcare expenses.
Yeah.
I had my mother there, and everything. So that will be the next one. Then the one after, a lot of people want to learn about real estate investing
Mhm.
because it's a phenomenal way to build wealth.
Mhm.
Well, I happen to be, because I started in real estate investing, I know more real estate coaches than I can
Mhm. Shake a stick at, yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say that, but and I'm going to bring a whole bunch of them together
Ah,
so that
great.
people can really learn the right way, not these big generic courses that, not the 20 or $30,000
Yeah.
courses. No, no.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring together the women who have 6 or 8 week courses and teach you one strategy.
Yeah.
And that way, in one summit, you can hear all the different strategies
Hmm.
and you can say, that sounds like what I want. And I'm going to start with a specific strategy because I can tell you when people start investing, whether it's real estate, businesses, whatever, they get shiny object syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
And so my goal with my course, really, I wrote my course. I developed execution wins
Hmm.
for people who are stuck, who like me, go down the research rabbit hole, who have shiny object syndrome, who by course after course, and it sits in their inbox because I have a friend like that.
Yeah.
I have more than one friend like that. And so there were a lot of women around me who served as my inspiration as well as my personal knowledge for doing this. And so um, the Ignite series comes from that same moment. It comes from wanting to bring correct information
Yeah.
to women, complete information,
Yeah.
and people who I have faith in to get you to those goals. Because we need to build wealth, right?
Hmm.
We want to build generational wealth,
Hmm.
but we want to build wealth so that who knows what the world's going to be like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, with prices and everything. And I'm not here to talk about the economy or politics, but we all
No,
need
but
wealth, right?
it's a twofold. What you're describing is the leadership and the mission that you have and that you want to leverage your lived experience into.
Hmm.
And really, like I've often said that the new female entrepreneur or the babypreneur, that's another
Yeah, yeah.
term, like Powerful Inc. as the incubator for the babypreneur, is vulnerable because that was me when I started and I had shiny object syndrome and it almost, this is dramatic, you guys, but it like almost financially ruined my life, the shiny
Yes,
object, because I was
because
vulnerable, naive. I was prey. I was easy prey for so many tactics and I didn't have enough of a core identity developed to lead
correct.
myself. And now I sure as heck do, but
Sorry, I got to pick the dog up.
I
What do you
don't
want?
want to, yeah, bring the dog in. I don't want to see anybody else go through the
Well,
extent that I
exactly.
did,
Well,
right?
just look
So,
online right now. The reason I'm not doing a goal setting,
yeah,
mini course, everybody's doing goals.
everybody.
You
Yeah,
can go and set goals all you want.
yeah.
Is anybody going to help you implement and execute? I hate to say I'm the executioner, but I am the woman I am the coach who's going to help you execute
You're gonna get
on
it
your
done.
goals.
Yeah,
I am not going to just help
yeah,
you set your goals or
yeah.
define them. I'm going to show you how to really
Hmm.
work on them so that you achieve them and you move yourself forward in your
Hmm.
goals. You want to leave that corporate job? Let's figure out a plan.
Yeah.
If that's one of your goals, let's figure out what it's going to take. We will map it out. We will map a timeline. And it's not that we only work in 12 weeks. I mean, I believe in setting a 10-year, well, for me, it's more of a 5 to 7 year, but a 10-year plan
Yeah,
and working backwards.
yeah.
And if you ask me what my 7-year plan includes, it includes like owning a house in France. Okay, so that's what I'm talking
Beautiful.
about, like the
Yeah,
big vision.
yeah.
Okay, but the micro vision is, I mean, my goal is by next year, I want to go on a cruise to see the Christmas markets in Europe or a trip.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm going to figure out a way to make that happen.
Yeah,
My daughter and I are going to go. She's a
yeah,
great if we can't do a cruise, then she's a great travel planner.
yeah,
But I'm going to help you. How do you want your life to look?
yeah.
And because when you're an entrepreneur, unless you have a brick and mortar store or you are, an Etsy seller, and those are all great things, you can make
Hmm.
so much money. But, if you have some sort of virtual business, I can work from anywhere,
Yeah,
right? I was working at my daughter's house.
yeah.
Okay, she was moving. I helped her move a pack, and I had my laptop and my screen and
Hmm.
my brain, and
Hmm. Yeah.
and I worked. So, you can. do you want that kind of freedom? What do you want life to look like?
Yeah.
And how do you want it to be? And let's make a plan. Let's make a real plan. Let's not just say, oh, I want my own business and I want to retire from corporate world.
Yeah.
Whatever your version of corporate world is. Let's figure out how to get you there in micro steps and build it so that when you finally do leave, your business is at a point where it's thriving and you can make things really work.
Well, and you've grown into it over time, right? So you've
Right,
increased your personal development, your capacity, your business savvy,
right,
and you don't have as much of a gap to cross like you're ready. So,
correct.
Nancy, this is beautiful, and you are just so delightful to talk to. We're very aligned, and I hope that, this is the beginning of a friendship for us.
Absolutely.
You guys, I'm going to share the links. I highly encourage you to get into her 5-day course. We'll get this podcast out in time that we don't miss that timing. And let's look forward to this January summit series and,
Absolutely.
the value that's in there. Because you can see Nancy's got a lot of heart and a lot of vision, organizing them again to get those results that we need. So all your
And the
links
summit
will,
is free. The summit is free.
yeah, yeah, right. Another, which could, anyway, yeah, a beautiful way to serve and a beautiful way to, like you said, create your audience, get your message out there in your own stage. So
Absolutely.
thank you so
Absolutely.
much for,
Thank you.
yeah, and I look forward to keeping in touch and having you in my network
Absolutely.
now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mia.